The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past is a game that's practically as old as I am, and to me, it's been proof of one thesis that I believe in deeply. Truly, great game design is timeless. And A Link to the Past is almost entirely consistent of truly great game design. There is no nostalgia speaking here either. You might remember I already told you that my very first Zelda game was Breath of the Wild in 2018. I played practically the entirety of the series after, including A Link to the Past, and I was simply mesmerized by it. Now, because I wouldn't be me if I didn't have some sort of controversial opinion to share, and also because I don't know at the moment of writing this if I will ever talk about it separately or not, I think the GBA version is the best way to play A Link to the Past. But also, really what it amounts to is a bunch of nice quality of life additions to an already fantastic SNES original, which you see on the footage here. And, you know, A Link to the Past is definitely not perfect in absolutely every aspect. The story is your basic save the world fare with rudimentary lore and no interesting characters to speak of, except the flute boy. Now that's tragedy right there. The game also has a considerable amount of missed opportunities. For example, even though at one point switching between Light World and Dark World becomes one of the core mechanics, 99% of the time there is no interaction between the two parallel dimensions. For all intents and purposes, most of the game they're just entirely separate maps that happen to have the same foundational layout. But the rest? Let's put it this way. Add widescreen support, fix some clunkiness in your text translations, and perhaps re-record sound effects and music, and you'd think the game was made in 2026. It's just so good! First, while A Link to the Past might not feature great world building or storytelling, what it does excel at is staging and atmosphere. The starting sequence alone, when you have to reach the castle while it's raining, does so much for immersion. And of course there's the music, too many fantastic tracks to speak of. I guess it's no wonder that so many tunes from A Link to the Past have become long-standing leitmotifs in the franchise. The main draw of A Link to the Past, however, is just how the game is designed. There's just too many wonderful details to discuss. If I decide to tackle them all, this is going to transform into a pretty long-form video, and that's not the point of these ranking discussions. But if we were to summarize, there are three really important things that A Link to the Past is really good at. First, it's the structure. It's guided, but with a lot of openness that creates a feeling of adventure. For example, after the prologue that happens in a very limited area, practically the whole Light World opens up from the get-go. Now you have to complete the 3 dungeons in the Light World in a specific order and unlock the remaining parts of the world that way, but even before that there's already so many secrets you can find, hearts, items. And when you get to the Dark World, yes, on the map every dungeon is numbered, but half of the time that order is a suggestion and not a requirement. And one of the reasons for that is the flexibility of items. Many of them can be used for multiple purposes, and also there are several items that can potentially fulfill the same purpose, which means that some items are either entirely optional or you don't have to acquire them at an exact specific point. All these principles are really nicely wrapped in the dungeon design, which, you know, if we were to be absolutely objective, it is not always the most successful or elegant out there. But each dungeon is so unique in style, setup, structure, that even if thematically they can sort of blur a bit together because the world building and lore is not A Link to the Past's strong suit, as mentioned before, in terms of gameplay they feel very different, and that's pretty awesome. And to top it all off, as a sort of fourth bonus important aspect, the entire game can be comfortably 100%ed without any guides. First, because the signposting about a lot of things is just so smart, like, you know, most walls that can be blown up have cracks in them, but some don't. However, those without cracks don't feel like bullshit because their placement is so specific and kinda weird that it makes you go, I wonder. Plus, even if you're absolutely stuck or can't find something, the hint network in the game is very advanced, and if push comes to shove, you can always pay some rupees to get nudged into the right direction. And if you were to top it all off even more, the game feels just so nice to control. Like, the mechanics are not advanced in any way, shape or form. It's not a game that makes you go, oh, movement is so satisfying, or combat is so deep, or anything like that. But you can do everything you need to effortlessly. You never have to struggle with how to interact with the game, and that's also very important. So you can see why I can talk about the design of A Link to the Past quite a lot. There is always something, some detail, some curiosity that makes me go, oh, and there's also this cool thing. So I guess the most reasonable thing to do would be to just cut off the discussion here, where I guess it makes the most sense. I suppose it's not going to be a surprise that after all this, A Link to the Past will become the new #1 spot placement in the ranking. Is it going to be there forever? No, I can already think of a bunch of games that will beat it, at least because they're not only designed well but have fantastic stories, worlds and characters. But don't take that as me demeaning A Link to the Past. You remember I mentioned at some point how in this ranking, different tiers and categories naturally get formed as I put various games across different positions? Well, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past is the first placement in what I feel is going to be a new category. Unapologetically awesome games.